Hi friends, good afternoon and welcome to my home and in my kitchen here at All Things Kitchen. Today I am going to be making and canning some blackberry syrup and some blackberry jam. Yesterday I already went ahead and de-seeded the blackberries. I didn't get that on film, I'm sorry. It was just a hectic night last night just trying to prepare for today, but I am going to bring you along for the process of making the syrup and getting them in the jars and in the canner, and then making the jam and getting that ready to be canned as well. So what I have about 8 cups of blackberry juice after I de-seeded the blackberries last night, and I'm going to do half and half. So about 4 cups I'll be making into the syrup and 4 cups into the jam. So I'm going to bring you down here and we're going to get started with the syrup. So I've got the pot here and I'm going to pour in, this is about 4 cups of juice. And I did not grab a spatula. And all I'm going to do is bring this juice up to a boil, and once it comes to a boil, then I will add the sugar and the lemon juice. And this is just all about preserving the blackberries so that we can use them in whatever way and function that we want to, which today happens to be syrup. I've never made blackberry syrup before. I made, excuse my canners beeping at me because I've got some jars in here that are warming up. I've never made blackberry syrup before, only blueberry syrup, and that was actually an accident when I made the blueberry syrup, but it was a happy accident because we absolutely love the blueberry syrup, and we put it on pancakes and French toast and whatever else you can think of, we're pouring that on there. So blackberries are my husband's favorite, so I thought I would go ahead and give the blackberry syrup a try. So I'm going to bring this up to a boil, and once it does, I'll bring you back. Okay, so pardon the steam right there. The blackberries have come to a boil, and I have just been lightly stirring them so nothing gets scorched on the bottom of the pot. And we are going to add, so this was 4 cups of blackberry juice, and I just used my KitchenAid with my like food mill for the KitchenAid to remove all the seeds, and you really can't see anything. So it has come to a boil that I cannot stir down. So now is the point where we add the sugar, and I have pre-measured, that's 1 cup of sugar, and I have 2 teaspoons of lemon juice. And so I'm going to cook that while it comes back to a boil, and once it comes back to a boil, I will cook it for 1 minute. Now, we have many different flavors of jelly around here, and I like to make my jelly, or I should say can my jelly, in these little 4-ounce jars. That way we can have a couple of flavors available to us in the refrigerator without the worry of anything going bad. Okay, so this has come to a boil that I cannot stir down. I'm trying to, I don't want to turn on the fan because then you won't be able to hear me talk. But we do have multiple different flavors of jelly. We enjoy jelly on toast, and you can put jelly in yogurt. You just buy plain yogurt, and then you can flavor your yogurts that way. Can put it in oatmeal to flavor oatmeals, and you can melt them down and kind of make a syrup out of them. Just kind of heat it up in the microwave to bring it to a liquid state so you can use it on whatever you would like to, pancakes, French toast. All right. So I'm going to remove this from the heat and I will bring you over here in just one moment. Okay, I have my canning station right here all ready to go, and I have my hot jars in the canner that I'm going to take out just a couple at a time. Whenever you are canning, this is one of those things that you need to make sure you have pretty much everything ready to go. Now, I don't need this spoon anymore. So, and blackberry juice is going to stain, so you want to be careful how you handle that. And I am just going to, got my canning ladle here, put my funnel in here, and I am going to put this in the jars. And you want to bring this to about a 1/4 inch headspace. And I do have cloth napkins that I generally use, but for something that's going to stain like this, I'm just going to use a regular paper towel. I just dipped it in some vinegar because you want to clean the rim here. You want to make sure that there's no barrier between the rim of the jar and your lid right here. You put the lid on and then you put the ring on, and we're just going to do fingertip tight. It's very hot. Fingertip tight. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in my canner and grab another jar. And the jar that I have out, I will just swap around. So if you're putting a hot product in your jar, you want your jar to be hot as well. If you're putting cold product in there, if you're cold packing something, then you want the jar to be cold, because you certainly don't want to shock the jar and break it. So again, fill to a 1/4 inch headspace, wipe the rim. Now, since this is a liquid, I don't need to debubble. If there were any solids in here, I would make sure and debubble so that there was no air trapped. Grab my lid and my ring. Hot, 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 hot. And just fingertip tight. And I'm going to go ahead and get this in my canner. So while I do this process, you don't have to watch me do all the jars. I'll bring you back when I finish filling the jars so we know how many I got with this 4 cup of juice. I'll bring you back when they're all, and I'll show you in the canner. Okay, so I was able to get 5 half pints or 8-ounce jars of syrup, and it was a perfect amount for 5 jars. So I'm going to go ahead and put the lid. I do have an electric canner here that I'm using, but I'm just doing water bath here. And let me So this is my electric canner. It's a Presto electric canner, and I'm using the boiling water can. Is what it says, but it's the water bath feature on it, and it's ready to fill the jars, which I just did. So I'm going ahead and hitting pretty much the start button, and I'm going to can this for 10 minutes. And once this comes up to a rapid boil, then that 10-minute timer will start. once it comes to temperature, and then we'll be able to can, the properly for 10 minutes. And then after that 10 minutes, we'll let it cool down for a few minutes, let it stop boiling, and then I'll pull them out of the canner, and we'll let them sit anywhere between at least 12 hours, 12 up to 24 hours. But generally, probably by lunchtime tomorrow, it is a little bit after 5. On my lunch break tomorrow, I'll go ahead and clean the jars and get them put away. So now that part is started, I'm going to give it a little bit of time because I don't want to cross paths too much with it, because that syrup, bringing that syrup up to the boil happened pretty quickly, and it's pretty much the same process when it comes to making the jelly that I'm going to be making, but of course it will have pectin in it so that it will thicken up. I am using a low sugar pectin. I'm using Pomona's pectin in order to do this, just so that there's not so much sugar, because we do enjoy our jellies around here. So in order to be able to do that in a healthy manner, I do reduce the amount of sugar in the jelly. So I have everything set up and ready for that. I'm not even going to wash the pot that we made the syrup in, because we're going to be putting the same products in there. I'm going to let this, as soon as it comes up and starts the 10-minute countdown, I'll probably go ahead and get started on the jelly. We'll see how that goes, but I'll bring you back then. It's come up to the boil. You can hear that. And it's going to start its countdown for 10 minutes now for the water bath can. And we can water bath fruit because it is an acidic product. Anything that's acidic, you can water bath. If it is not acidic, then you need to pressure can. If you're new to canning, it's very important that you follow the guidelines. Canning is a science, and it's very important that specific guidelines are followed to keep you and your family safe while preserving your food. So if you've never canned before, I suggest you start watching videos, you start reading canning books, maybe go to the National Center for Home Food Preservation. There you'll find your guidelines, and it's very important that you follow those. You don't want to go off on your own and think, oh, this is okay to do this way, because there are some things that are okay and some things that are not. And foodborne illness can be very serious. Botulism is a very serious thing that can happen if you're not following the proper protocols. So if you are new, I highly suggest, as Jess from Roots and Refuge says, turn your waiting room into your classroom. Start learning now if it's something that you're interested in, so that when it does come time to do it, it's not so scary and you already have the knowledge in your head. It's not like studying in school. It can be fun watching all the videos, getting to know the people online. They kind of become your friends. So you're becoming my friend, I hope. And to come along with me while we do this food journey here at All Things Kitchen. So we're down to 6 minutes on the timer for my digital canner. I did get a 4 jars pressure canner for Christmas, which I have not used yet, but I'm very excited to use it when I'm ready to. But that's for pressure canning. I didn't need that for water bath canning, and it was just easier to pull this out while I'm talking with you. I was going to try to double duty, but I need to warm up my jars in the canner before I can put the jelly in there. So I am just going to go ahead and wait for that to get done. I did go ahead and rinse my pot that I started the syrup in, but I have everything else ready. Like I said before, when it comes to canning, you want to have everything prepared. I've got all my jars out. I've got the vinegar out to wipe the rims. I've got my jar lifter to put everything in the canner. I've got all my ingredients out ready to go and my instructions for what I'm doing. If you don't have the instructions memorized in your head, you want to make sure that they're nice and ready for you. Since I'm using the low sugar pectin, I like to keep those instructions out just because it is a little bit different process than using regular pectin. But when you use regular pectin, you have to use so much sugar. You're putting more sugar than fruit in there. And if I can cut down on that sugar so we can eat more jelly, like I said before, that's the best thing to do. So I'll bring you back when these are done and I'm getting ready to pull them out of the canner. There's 5 minutes left on the timer. And so I'll bring you back when that's all done and ready. It's not ready yet. But I thought while I'm here in the kitchen, I might as well put myself to use and thought maybe we could have a little chat. Please ignore the dirty counter back there. I have things in process that I'm working on for future videos for us. But I know I'm looking down. I'm just cutting up a tomato here to have ready for my salads or a sandwich. Like I had said the other day in my previous video, I really like salads, but they're, you don't have to have a lot of ingredients, but sometimes they can. I like a lot of ingredients in my salad, so it's just a little bit tedious to make a salad every day or even a couple times a week. And I don't want to spend the money on buying prepared salads because that's money that I don't want to have to spend. So I just took this tomato and just sliced it up. And now I'm just going to put it in my container here, which might be too small. I might have to eat a slice of tomato. So, have you canned before? And if so, what is your favorite product to can? So I know this is my first canning video with you today, but my favorite product that I have canned in the past is actually relish. And it's not necessarily the process of doing it or anything. It's just I love my dill relish when I use it in dishes. I think maybe it's because I cut the cucumber a little bit larger than what you find in a store-bought relish. So you actually get chunks of pickle, you know, in the relish. And I really like that. I've never found a jarred relish like the one that I make. Flavor-wise, it's, you know, a typical, I think I got the recipe out of the Ball canning book. So there's nothing really special about the recipe itself. It's just a typical pickle recipe, but it's the size of the relish. Now, I have a lot of different foods that I do can. I can ingredients and I also can full meals. So we're on a 5-minute countdown now, a cooling period for the digital canner. After you do your time for canning, you do kind of want to let it sit and cool. You don't want to bring things out while it's still boiling hot. So I'll let that do its 5-minute timer. But as I was saying, I do have full meals in a jar that I canned. I have beef stew, beef stroganoff. I have all different kinds of soups, chili. Spaghetti sauce is more of an ingredient, but it has meat in it. So I don't have to worry about defrosting meat and cooking up the meat. I have Mississippi pork, Mississippi chicken, chicken cacciatore. Trying to picture my closet with where my canning shelves are, as far as the meals go. And I'm drawing a blank right now, but I do have a lot of recipes, beef stew, that it's very nice to be able and get a home cooked from scratch meal right off my shelf where I controlled the ingredients that went into it. And that's what's important to me, so that I can make nice, healthy meals for my family and not have to worry about the ingredients that went into it. So that's down to 4 minutes. I'm going to get a lid for my tomatoes and snack on this one tomato top that wouldn't fit in there. And I'll bring it back when we're ready to pull those out and we're ready to start the jam. Here we have our blackberry syrup. When you take the jars out, and I know I'm just kind of showing you here on the counter, you may see that there's still water on there. That's because you don't want to tip your jars when you're bringing them out. You want to keep everything upright, and that water, I don't know if you can see, but it's already evaporating off of that jar right there. So it's hot boiling water and it evaporates fairly quickly. It doesn't hurt anything, but it does hurt if you tip your jars, and you don't want to do that. Now, I'm not hearing any pinging yet, but these 4 jars lids don't ping as loud as some of the older jars. I'm going to add, no, I'm not, I think there's plenty of water in there. Oh, can you hear them start pinging? I heard them from across the room. Not going to make any noise anymore. So now I'm going to add my 4-ounce jars into the water to get them prepared for the jelly. And I keep going back between saying jelly and jam. Truly, I am making, well, it does have some pulp in it from the blackberries. So technically that would make it a jam, because pulp did go through the food mill. If I was using just plain straight juice, like when I made my apple jelly, I made that from apple juice. Did not have any apples on hand to juice in that manner. I don't have a steam juicer or anything like that. So I'm putting these jars in here, and I'm sorry you're still staring at those jars, but they're so pretty. Let me pull you up here. So I just put some more jars in there. See, if I got 5, I might need 10 of those, maybe a little bit less. I don't think I'll quite need 10 jars, but I may need more than 7. So I'm going to go grab a couple and I'll be right back. I missed one over on the counter. That's 8. What I might do, actually, I know I'm going to do this because blackberry is my husband's favorite. I am going to go ahead and put an 8-ounce jar back in there, and I'll do 1 8-ounce jar and the rest the 4-ounce. So we can go ahead and come over here and get started on the jelly. So this process is basically going to be the same. I'm going to add my blackberry juice in here, and you can see this is what I'm talking about, the pulp that's kind of still in the juice. If it was just plain straight juice, then it could be called jelly. But because it does have that pulp is what makes it called jam. So when you make just with juice, it's jelly. You make with anything else, has any sort of body to it, it's jam. Put this in the sink. And while this is heating up, I'm going to go ahead and add, like I said, because I'm using the low sugar pectin, Pomona's pectin, it has calcium water that I'm going to put 4 teaspoons of this calcium water in here. And this is something that was prepared a little bit earlier. So I'm just going to mix that up and bring this to a boil. Now I already have my sugar ready, which again is just slightly over a cup of sugar. I use like a heaping, my measuring cup that's in my sugar is 1/3 of a cup, and I did about 3 heaping 1/3 cups. So it's probably 1.25 cups. And I mixed 4 teaspoons of pectin in here. You want to blend your pectin into your sugar so that when you pour it in, it's all blended and melts easily. And then I have a 1/4 cup of lemon juice here ready to put in here. And I accidentally put this spatula down on my countertop, and I don't want to stain my countertops, even though we are looking to renovate the kitchen soon. I've got lots of ideas. I need to get somebody in here to coordinate and construct my ideas together. So I'm going to bring this up to a rolling boil. It's probably going to happen pretty quickly. You can see it's already steaming. And I'll bring you right back. That only took about 45 seconds, and it's coming up to a boil. And I'm going to go ahead and add the lemon juice. That's going to chill it down just a little bit. And then the 1 cup of sugar along with the 4 teaspoons of pectin. So I'm going to stir this continuously until it comes up to a hard boil. And a hard boil is a boil that you cannot stir down. So by stirring it, it does not make the boil go away. There is a little bit of foam here on top, but I'm not going to worry about that. Sometimes you can like skim off this foam a little bit, and I might do that before I put them in the jar. I'll wait and see what it looks like. Sometimes you can also add a little pat of butter in there, and that helps with the foam. Now it's at that hard boil stage. So again, we're going to time this for 1 minute. Anywhere between 1 to 2 minutes. And there is a way that you can test. What you can do is like have a spoon or a small plate. And I'm sorry, you are just all steamed up. You can't really see. But I need to make sure that I keep stirring this. You can put a plate or a spoon in the freezer, and then when you're ready to see if it's going to set up at the right consistency, you just pull that out of the freezer and just put a couple of drops on the plate or dip the spoon in there and kind of set it aside, let it chill out for about 10 seconds, and then run your finger through to see if it's the viscosity that you want. But I've never had a problem. Well, I shouldn't say that. That's how I ended up with blueberry syrup. Was I didn't either cook it down enough or didn't put enough pectin, and it just got the syrup, which was fine by me. But this is going to set up just fine. Again, I'm going to move this off to the side, and I'll lift you up here so you can, and I'll bring you over here. One moment. Okay, so let me grab, I'm going to grab the 8-ounce jar first. And we will, where's my, I'd rinsed my ladle off and I had it sitting in the sink. So I'm going to do the 8-ounce jar first. And that's my canner letting me know that my jars are nice and hot. And again, I'm filling this to 1/4 inch headspace, which you can measure if you're not familiar with that. And grab paper towel to wipe off the rim. The lid. And putting the ring on to fingertip tight. And fingertip tight just means exactly that. Just tightening it with the fingertips. You don't want to make them too tight. That is not on straight. You do want it on straight though. There we go. There we go. So I'm going to put that over here, and then I'm going to grab a 4-ounce jar. And then we'll fill these 4-ounce jars. The last time I made this jelly, I didn't have my food mill, and I had to basically de-seed these by hand, which, ooh, that's hot, which is cooking up the berries and then mashing them through a sieve. And my sieve was not the best, and so it still ended up with some seeds in it, which was okay because it was mainly seedless. So it was my mostly seedless blackberry jam, which kind of makes me laugh. Right now. So I'm just going to do these little 4-ounce jars here. And once I get them in the canner, I will bring you back and let you see how many we got. And we'll get the canner started. Hot. Okay, so I have 4 4-ounce jars and 1 8-ounce jar of the blackberry jelly. And I'm going to get the lid on that and get that going for 10 minutes. And I'll bring you back when I'm bringing those out, and we'll wrap everything up. And like I said before, we don't want to tilt the jars. You want to bring them straight up. I do kind of give it a little swirl so a little bit of that water comes off, but that water's not going to hurt anything. And I don't think I said, but when you are water bath canning, you want to make sure that there's at least an inch of water above your largest jar. And also, if you are canning different size jars together, that the canning time has to be for the largest jar. But this was 10 minutes for a pint, and I did 1/2 pint and 4-ounce jars. So it's fine, the 10 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and unplug the canner so this water can cool down. And I don't know if you heard, but there were a couple of pops there from the jars. Thank you for coming along with me today as we made some blackberry syrup, some blackberry jam. I appreciate your time. I know it's valuable. If you liked what you see here and want to come along for some future journeys, please consider giving this a like and subscribing to the channel. I would be happy to bring you along with me here in my home, in my kitchen, at All Things Kitchen. I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Take care.